The HOA's audacity seemed limitless. After their disastrous drag race on my wheat farm, they found a new target: my bulls. For weeks, Karen and the board had mocked them online, posting videos and memes portraying my livestock as silly or dangerous nuisances. They thought humiliation and ridicule could undermine my authority, but they underestimated the power of what they were dealing with. One morning, I received a notice from the HOA claiming that my bulls were a hazard to community safety and demanding that I restrain or remove them immediately. The demand came with a threat: fines, legal action, and even forced relocation of the animals. I smiled. Not only did they misunderstand the bulls, but they also didn't realize that messing with them would backfire spectacularly. I began my counteraction by freezing their HOA budget. It was a strategic move. Without funds, they couldn't pursue legal threats, hire enforcement, or maintain their usual level of interference. The shockwave through the board was immediate. Meetings erupted in chaos, accusations flew, and Karen screamed into her phone, trying to rally support. But there was no help coming. The HOA had dug a hole they could not climb out of. Next, I reinforced my property's defenses. Gates were double-locked, barns secured, and escape routes carefully planned. The bulls, calm but massive, were strategically positioned near access points, their presence alone enough to intimidate anyone foolish enough to attempt trespassing. A few minor triggers ensured that the bulls would remain alert to disturbances, creating a silent but unmistakable deterrent. The real genius, however, was timing. I waited for the perfect moment: a board meeting at their offices, where they planned to publicly shame me for the threat posed by my bulls. I arranged for a discreet live feed to the meeting. As they scrolled through the footage, they watched the bulls calmly grazing, but with enough subtle movement to remind them that these were not animals to be trifled with. The reaction was immediate: stunned silence, followed by whispered panic, then the realization that they had no leverage. Karen, refusing to accept defeat, attempted a personal confrontation. She drove onto my property with an entourage of HOA members, thinking sheer numbers could intimidate me. She didn't anticipate the traps I had set. Gates closed automatically, paths were restricted, and the bulls, upon sensing unusual activity, positioned themselves strategically. The group froze, trapped between reinforced fences and animals far larger and more intimidating than they could have imagined. One wrong move and the situation could escalate, but I calmly maintained control, letting them understand their precarious position. The aftermath was spectacular. The HOA scrambled to contain the situation, calling in legal counsel and trying to negotiate with me. Every negotiation failed. I reminded them that they had no authority over my property, my animals, or the decisions I made regarding them. My leverage was absolute. Karen's repeated attempts at intimidation were documented, her false claims noted, and her credibility eroded with every interaction. Word of the incident spread quickly throughout the community. Neighbors, once intimidated by the HOA's supposed authority, began to see the true balance of power. Stories circulated of the bulls standing guard, unyielding and imposing, with the HOA left floundering in their wake. Memes, videos, and social media posts cemented the spectacle, turning Karen and the board into a laughingstock. By the end of 2477, the lesson was clear. The HOA had overstepped, underestimated my resources, and misjudged my control over both property and animals. My bulls were no longer simply livestock. They were symbols of authority, strategy, and the consequences of hubris. Karen and her board members had been humbled yet again, and the saga had reinforced a simple truth. Anyone attempting to challenge me or my ranch would face consequences carefully calibrated to their own misjudgment. The ranch, my animals, and my property remained untouchable. And Karen? She learned, once more, that when it comes to me, underestimating the stakes comes at a cost far higher than she was prepared to pay.